We're back, and it's a Thursday, and it's the Thursday edition of the Burning Issue here on the Happy World of 5FM radio in Lusaka on 89.9. That includes the surrounding areas. We are also live on our partner radio stations, and let me list them for you. We are live on Tuta FM in that's on 98.7, covering the rest of Luapula province. And we are also live on Muchinga Radio in Chinsali, covering the rest of Muchinga province on 88.1. Live also on the Copper Belt. Chingola is where iWave FM radio is, 90.1, but we are covered, we're covering the entire Copper Belt. We're grateful for that. Central Province in Kabwe, we are live on Spice FM 91.1, covering the rest of Central Province, like I mentioned. So make sure you follow this conversation and participate in it. We are live also in Southern Province, Mazabuka, to be precise. That's where Wave FM radio is on 98.7, covering the rest of Southern Province. Also live on our Facebook page. Follow our conversation. We're live on 5FM Radio Zambia. Also on our YouTube channel, 5FM Zambia. I'm your host, Zachariah Banda. Now, later on, I will give you, our listeners, an opportunity to call in and interact with our guest. And at this point, let me welcome our guest. And our guest today is Honourable Chipoka Mulenga, who is a Member of Parliament for Chingola Central. And of course, he is the Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry. Honourable, always a pleasure to have you here on this particular program, The Burning Issue. We are grateful that you made it. How are you?
Thank you, Zaki, my dear brother, and thank you for inviting me. Like always, it's a pleasure to be here on this wonderful private media house,
Right,
where you've been very objective in bringing various speakers from government, the opposition, civil society, independent, to interact with the country. So I am very excited that I'm here today, and allow me also to pass my sincere greetings to the listeners out there from whichever part of the country they're joining us from. Wakomfabonse from each part of the country, kuchingoloko ndetila mwashibukeni bonse mkwai, ku Southern Province, mwaukabuti, ku Western Province, muzwile nchani, muno mulusaka, uwafya bena lusaka baba wakati bena chipatana bena. Mudi bwanji. Thank you very much, sir.
Great. How have you been? I know you've been busy. This program should have actually taken off 2 months ago or so. But I also know that it's all about national duty, country first, and that's what you've been busy with. But just bring us to speed. I mean, you've been all over.
Indeed, Wazaki, I acknowledge I should have been here about 2 or 3 weeks ago. But I've been busy, but not too busy to join you.
You're right. Only
that I had to respond to a few other national engagements, which were at the time also equally important.
Right.
And we've hardly been in the office, but around the country to see how best we can also contribute to the well-being and welfare of our Zambian public in the midst of this, not only global, but also regional and local challenges that we are also experiencing in as a country. It's a responsible leadership. We just have to make sure that we engage our public, we work with them, we see how we can lessen the burden and, if anything, improve the living standards of our people in the midst of various economic challenges that are available.
Yeah, and we will discuss the challenges, but let's start off with what looks like good news. Well, it's not like it looks like good news. It is good news because anything developmental is good news, and it's beneficial to the country. Now let's talk about the commencement of the car battery manufacturing trial by Irumi New Energy to start next month. How will this develop the country's industrial sector?
Okay, Zaki, I'll be very, very open with us. The best way to improve an economy of a country is to make sure that we talk about value addition. Value addition in this country for many years has only been a song. The only time when value addition was done in this country was during the Kaunda reign. And unfortunately, along the time the lane of time and space of history, we lost a lot of these things. And every successive government and institution that has been available, the people, we've only been doing same things, thinking that we'll get better in our economy. The kwacha, the currency loses value, people lose jobs, people get out of it, and we think when we talk too much, we do these things, we improve the living standards of our people. It can never happen. The only way, Zaki, that we can get youths in employment, women in employment, men in employment, businesses to thrive, economies to grow, is only when we get institutions functional, minds operating at optimum capacity, industries opening, new sectors being opened up and set up, reviving different entities. Then once an economy is functioning, once the industrial sector is operational, be it agricultural sector, be it mining sector, be it manufacturing sector, be it any productive sector, then you see that naturally in markets, people will start buying more and selling more. In sport, there will be more sponsors and sports activities will improve and will get better. But to do this, irrespective of how hard it is, how long it takes, a responsible leadership and government must take that walk path and walk it the full length without compromise. It is the more reason why we have spoken about value addition in the sector of mineralization. Mansa Batteries was last producing batteries in the late 1980s, if not in the early 1980s. As I was born in the 80s, so I don't really know exactly when it was ended, but I know the period in which it was, the generation into it was ended. What has happened to Mansa Batteries building? It was sold off and it became a warehouse. Not a warehouse, I hear they want to put now a shopping mall into it. Once you sell an asset, it goes into private hands. It becomes to be difficult for any governance institution to directly influence on the change of use of that facility. But what do? We don't have to sit and cry over spilt milk. We need to find an alternative on how best we do this. Last year, when you, the Zambian public, supported or sponsored me to go into China, I saw that and realized that many of our batteries, besides South Africa, that we are importing and using in our vehicles, congestion, ask yourselves, what energy source are we using to drive these vehicles that are congested? There are cars that are being manufactured in batteries, powered by the batteries that are manufactured in China, South Africa, Indonesia, Japan, and other places. But how can we tap in? How can I make that taxpayers' money, which made me fly into China, be of value to the Zambian public? At least in Thailand, battery. And this is the reason why now I went into engagements and conversations to say, look, the economic zones that we have set up should not be warehouses for bringing sheds from whichever parts of the world and use them as a warehouse for distribution in retail shops. They need to be industrial yards. The PF government had a very good policy that they came up with, building industrial yards across the country. We've got one on the Copper Belt in Kitwe, one in Mongu in Western Province. There's one in Lusaka. But what has happened to them? They're empty shells. But we don't need to just let them be empty shells. They're more than those empty shells. What do? We need to put them into use. This is the reason why now, other than getting the batteries to be built in Zambia, yesterday I took a consortium of media houses, ZNBC, Zanis, Hot FM, Prime TV, you name them. We had more than 15 media houses covering this, where we are seeing the construction of an industry and the equipment which is meant for building AMA batteries set up. And I still invite you, the media houses, on behalf of the Zambian public, come, let us see that this industry succeeds. And we've been told by our friends, our Chinese, because fast, they've said by July, before July ends, we are going to do the test run of the production of the batteries. What is this important to us? And I want to plead and lobby from the Zambian public. When we start manufacturing batteries, Zambia, na ina wi na live kapo twalite mo kushite fya kufya fya bene twasule fyeso na tukwata menshi bale panga ba trade kings kano fetu no fenesto na tukwata sweet bale panga ba sha nyuko kan fetu fyompe fe if mne kucharo chimbi. If we buy our own products, we do not only create jobs in Zambia, strengthen our economy, we also encourage the foreign nationals to believe in our products because first we've believed in it. It's a more reason why the president has spoken about positive discrimination. If you, Zaki, sets up an industry in Zambia, the Zambian government should be number one to buy from you, not to import things. So now these batteries that we are praying that we will make, we are hoping that we will start producing by July or end of July. I look forward to getting a battery in my car, written on it, made in Zambia, and drive it. And I pray to God that a policy can be drafted, which I will work on, and accepted by all members of parliament, where we also implement positive discrimination for every government entity to buy Zambian batteries. Then we inspire confidence in our Zambian people. We are talking about, in the economic zone, creating about 1,500 jobs. And within this year, when this comes to life, it is not only the batteries that we are going to be manufacturing this year. Also, we are bringing in now an assembly plant of motorbikes. Zaki, for a long time, we just see me on a bike now, we cover Honda, Shani, Yeshile. What are we doing? We are getting our boys, our girls, our men, our women, our fathers, and every uncles out of in the streets. But we need to start bringing parts to start assembling them here. When we assemble these motorbikes, which are battery powered, where do they buy the batteries from? The ones in Chivombo. Where do they get the cables from? Zamefa and Newcamp. But most interestingly, even the cables now, we have said our copper will not live in its raw form. It must be processed here, supplied out of this country as a finished product. But what is important, even when we start making batteries, cables, and transformers, ZESCO is always importing transformers. I thank God we've got a Swede which has set up a plant in Ndola, but much of it is assembly. Few of the parts are coming from Zambia because they were failing to access copper, which is produced in Zambia. Now, as Minister of Industry, I have negotiated and I've discussed with all the mining companies. Wherever Zambian government has got a shareholding, we should have the first right of refusal to the copper that is ours, so that we feed it in the manufacturing sector of our Zambian-based industries. And mining companies all across the country have been reasonable enough. Yes, we had challenges at first, but they've come to understand and accept this. And this is where we're going to see that Zamefa will not be buying copper from London. They'll be buying copper from Rwansha Mine. They'll be buying copper from Mopani. They'll be buying copper from Lusaka.
Was that the case of them buying it from London?
Every time. Every time. They were, Zaki, this is what has been happening. And I'm telling you this verily. Zamefa is there. Engage them. Newcamp, I'll tell you why. Before we just formed government, Newcamp Cables had set up a small plant in Ndola, but they were failing to access copper, the raw material in Ndola. Because the deliberate reason why you find that these are copper plants set up, cable plants set up, cable manufacturing plants on the copper belt, because that's where the copper is. But they started failing to buy Zambian copper. They had to set up now the biggest cable plant in Dubai, where there is a warehouse for Zambian copper. So it became easier for them to access Zambian copper in Dubai than accessing it in Zambia. So they went to set up an industry in Dubai where they can get easy copper from that side. But when we came into office, we said this cannot continue. There is no way we can be buying our own copper at a higher price and we bring it back here. And the Zambian government has always had shares in the mining industry. As me, Minister of Industry, it's a reason why I was commissioned by the head of state to start now engaging and interacting with the public on how best we can make these raw materials accessible to our people. Why have the Chinese companies that have come and the American companies that want to set up, including the Zambian company that is setting up in the MFS, decided to say, let us start making batteries in Zambia? Because now they can access manganese from Central Province in Zambia. They can access copper in Zambia. They can access limestone in Zambia and many other facilities. And this is how we are going to get Zambian economy growing, not forcefully infusing our dollars in the economy at kwacha lero ya gaining. So I just want to implore the Zambian public that this industry that you are seeing today, the battery manufacturing plant, the bicycle assembly plant, the resurrection of Mopani copper mines, the soon to be resurrected or recapitalized Konkola copper mines, the newly established cobalt mine Mingomba in Chilabombwe, the recapitalization of $2 billion super pit in Lumwana by Barry God, the recapitalization of FQM to a tune of $1.25 billion in the new nickel project are things that soon now will start translating in the economic transformation of our country, and there will be economic resiliency. This is what we are doing.
And then I would like to ask the decision around setting up this particular battery manufacturing plant in Central Province. I know that Central Province is rich of manganese and the like, but someone would say it was obviously in some way strategic that we had Mansa batteries in Mansa. Why shouldn't we have decided to recapitalize by influencing an investor to go and actually produce from Mansa?
It's a good one. In what the question, I like what you have said about Zach Mweben, and I'll bring it to you.
Right.
Wanjebo Central Province is rich in what? Manganese.
Right.
Mansa is rich in what? Manganese.
Right.
So it's the same product that is there. But now I'll give you why now today in Central Province. Why not in Mansa? There are two factors here that I want the Zambian public to understand, and we are not ignoring them. We are working on them. Why do you think Luapula Province today does not have industries set up there? Luapula Province today does not have mining companies which are processing or smelting copper, or manganese, or refining manganese. The reason is simple. Luapula Province for many years has been neglected. It has never had access to sustainable power supply. The vehicles that are supposed to be used, in short, cables, transmitters, they have never been in Mansa. Nga Luapula ni nomba. Namaraiti mukamona tina mayanda ale yakabwino. For years, it has never been. So no industry today can be set up and this power starts working. It's the more reason why the president has commissioned the member of parliament, the minister of energy, who actually hails from Luapula, to make sure that Luapula gets all the power supply that it needs for industrial growth. Your argument with what I'm saying would be, finish by Chipoka because Zachariah Banda kwisa. The population of Zambia then was small. The industrial growth was small. So power was enough for everyone. And that same little power that the Zambia was generating was enough to take into Mansa. But when KCM came to operate, ZCCM started operating at full scale under privatization. We saw the reopening under Mwanawasa of Lumwana, Kansanshi, and other places.
Right.
So much of this power was directed in this direction. So the old infrastructure that was established during Mansa batteries cannot contain the current demand of power that is needed today. We need to improve the power supply and make sure that industrialization starts happening. Minister of Energy, this is how far I can go. He will come and explain now what is putting in place to get the power happening in there. But why is now Chiwombo, where we got Jiangxi economic zone, we also have manganese there. It has got enough power supply. It has got an economic zone which has provided facilities for quick investment for any investor. And I want to make something very clear, Bazaki. The facilities that through the Ministry of Finance that we have provided as incentives to the mining companies, to the productive sectors, are not limited kuliba muisama foreigners wufi. Ichinde fokulanda. Ine ama incentives yamba na ministry and yokonava. There is what we call Zambia Investment and Trade Bill. This bill, therefore, totally all the members of parliament, opposition, government, and the independent for having supported this bill. But the Mochila Mpapusha, why someone the same MPs, because it can never pass in parliament if MPs can. I took it and it was overwhelmingly supported, where we introduce new investment policies for the country. It is these new investment policies that have seen Mopani get an investor, that have seen the battery plant getting to open, that have seen Lumwana reinvest $2 billion, FQM reinvesting $1.25 billion, that have seen even others setting up these public-private partner projects. And these incentives, they are not for Bamwisa, they are for Zambia. Meaning, Bazaki Mungana Mukwatapa Kumokuboko, you want to invest, you are welcome to invest with the same conditions. But you may ask me, Chipoka change mwatwalile trade and investment bill parliament to revise it. In the Ministry of Commerce, Trade and Industry. The first thing I did, because I used to hear Zambians complain to say, "Ama economic zones ya yama Chinese fear, yaba sungu fear." Ngamwa kuchambishi kuchin kukoba beto konafu maine. Ukwa minister wandi provincial minister Elisha Matambo. Ngamwa kuchambishi pari ba economic zone, ila chambishi economic zone. Ngamwa yapo mwa bafia ma Chinese weka beka tamwa abena Zambia. Why? Oh yes, in succession in the past, all the investment policies that were there, it is true, they were limited to foreign nationals. When you give an economic zone, it was a preserve of the foreigners to stay there, no Zambian. But when I took over office, we said this cannot be, not under my watch. We need to make sure that every person who wants to invest in can have access to these investment bills. Those were the instructions I got from the president. And we started revising it. And we took it to parliament. And the parliamentarians, in a robust way, they questioned me and my ministry to justify why we wanted to change it. And in that parliament, in that cabinet, parliamentary committee, many of them actually, the oppositions, my older brother Bachitotela, and many others are sitting in that committee. Independent members, backbench members of parliament are there. And when we went through, sometimes they could even query and would change to represent the people of Pambashi, to represent the people of Chingola, to represent the people of Mwandi constituency and other places. So it has now become a document that is all-inclusive and Zambian-based. Why I'm telling you that I'm excited about this, yesterday when we were in Chiwombo, right there at Jangshi Emphas, we have seen Zambians invest in. Here in Lusaka South Emphas, now we have seen even Zambian companies like Trade Kings investing in. Trade Kings in but China Zambia kuchipata. Not only them, is it Java Foods? Java Foods is owned by our own sister Monica Msonda, Zambia. She has gone to invest in there because she wants to expand. So these policies are not for the mining companies, are not for the foreign nationals, are for every investor. It's a more reason why, Zaki, my brother, I want to encourage the Zambian public. Do not downplay the influence of that partial withdrawal here in NAPSA. Yes, in the Niminga I start withdraw based on the years. Now, how much contribution I had, I may contribute about, I may have maybe 500,000 kwacha. You, Zaki, maybe based on a contribution, you may have 90,000 kwacha. Or 50 or 70,000 kwacha. Together, that's why this president continues to encourage us that let us invest in partnerships and joint ventures. Zaki, when you get your NAPSA partial withdrawal, once they get NAPSA partial withdrawal, it will bring people to be destitute. Under our watch, HH has made it clear, whoever retires, the maximum NAPSA should be 3 months. Not from 1998 for NAPSA. People should be paid. And when you get that money, Zaki, let us come together. Together, it will not be your 90,000, Zaki. If we add it, it will be 1 million kwacha. Go into the economic zones, which gives you a lot of investment policies which are relaxed, and invest there. Your 90,000 over years, it will start multiplying, and it will give you a return on investment, and this is how you're going to live while you are working. Because actually, all Zambians we knew was to go to a bank and get a loan, which was expensive to pay back. But now we have got access to our own money while we are working and use it and invest it. Why we are encouraging people to do this, Zaki? Inevatata, bachiri no bumi. Na when I was a student by university. My father retired. He never had access to MPA. When he got his pension, he never knew how to invest that money. Within a short period of time, that money went to waste. My father started recovering and getting better when he set up his own enterprise. But if he set that enterprise when he was working, it could have been running parallel. While he's working here, he's building his own personal private enterprise. And this is exactly what we are encouraging the Zambian public.
Honourable, I mean, you're bringing out these things very, very well, and everything else looks bright, and also it looks easy. But doing business in this country today is hard, in the sense that, first of all, the kwacha is not stable against major foreign currencies. I mean, already what we've seen is now it's at 27 kwacha, for example, and the only time it depreciates is when there is some positive economic speculation. Sometimes it's deliberate that, the Bank of Zambia would intervene and, try and stabilize the kwacha. But other than that, the price of fuel is unpredictable. So already foreign exchange, the unpredictable price of fuel makes it very hard for these industries that you're talking about to produce to full capacity. Worse off, the now load shedding. The effects of load shedding is so hard on manufacturing sector. Let's start with the fact that load shedding now has a huge effect on manufacturing industry. That brings me to ask even the question, is there a deliberate policy by government now that major industries that intend to to invest in Zambia, or companies that intend to invest in Zambia, are they also coming to consume the little power we have?
Okay, that's a good question. Zaki, I think na lalu bamukulanda kwandi kubantu nganatwalira like everything is okay muno mchalo.
Right.
And I'm glad you brought me the cost of doing business.
Right.
As a government, we feel the pain that the Zambian people are going through. We will not pretend. There is a hardship going on right now. The cost of doing business is high. The cost of living has gone up. The living standards of our people has gone down a little bit because of the increased cost of doing business. Right. And once we have taken note and we acknowledge these challenges, then now we look for the solutions. We will not be the people that pretend and say, yo, fit. No, Zaki. Me, I go in shops, and I do compare. Chali shani hapa, lero chili shani. And then now we are looking for solutions to these problems. Zaki, you will open phone lines here. Even the people that bambi bala tukanensele, bambi bala tushoba, bambi bala kalipa. We do not take offense from that. Particularly me, minister who is responsible for this business and other things. I draw concern and see how we can find solutions to those problems. But not that I'm encouraging people to be vulgar or anything. I encourage people to bring solutions to the table, lamentations that we can work out together to find problems. It is my responsibility. So when you tell me the cost of doing business, I've given you my statement on it already. But what is government doing to lessen that one?
Right.
Number one, Zaki, when you go to Pakra, the first point of call which you're establishing your own business for registration, the first thing I did, Zaki, was understand, why do newspapers, these national papers, at a certain point of the year, they list the number of companies which they are deregistering for not declared returns, for not being functional after registration. The cost of application for a business was very expensive. Zaki people are spending more than even 4,000, 5,000, 7,000 to register a company. The first thing I did was, you don't make money as government from fees of registration of a company. You make money as a government and you improve the economy of your country, the living standards of your people, by allowing businesses to set up. We scrapped off all fees by half, others actually by 75%, so that Zambians can easily register companies, including a student who is now getting bursary that was taken away from them at university. That's how easy it has become. But the challenge came again. When they are registering for these companies, kwale baba agent, then we decided, let us go electronic. Merge PACRA, NAPSA, and other facilities via ZRA, PIN numbers together. Vazaki apopene mwikele phone nga mwabula mwambo kutinika mwasamba okulaya. You'll be able to register your company. In the next 1 or 3 days, you'll get your company, not months. Why it's even taking 3 days or 4 days? If you look at name search, where they start searching for name and everything. Now, we've encouraged our people to say, can you, this name search should be automatic. Because when you put in the system, it will reject or accept. Once it accepts, then the system can be facilitated. And it should also make suggestions. And then it's either you accept, you propose, or you reject. That is how we are going to lessen that one. But now there's another part where you find licenses. Kwaba liquor license, kwaba fire license, kwaba trading license. This is a meeting I had just early this week with the Board for Business Review and Regulations Agency and the executive management to say, guys, one trading license is sufficient for a business to operate. They can't have 4 or 5 licenses for a business to go on. One is enough, and this is the review that we are doing. But we do not just want to make this announcement. We want to have wide stakeholder engagement. So, and we are going this stakeholder engagement Lusaka for Zambia te Lusaka iyo, in the words of President Haka in the HLM. He says, do not allow investment all to sit in Lusaka. Take it outside Lusaka. Take others in Chiwombo, take others in Mpika, take others in Kitwe, take others in Chingola, take others in Monze, take others in Petauke. So that is what we want to do. This will encourage more people to have lesser license and lesser amounts of money to pay as fees to set up their own businesses. But how do we increase the cost to lower the cost of doing business? The currency, Zaki, must be predictable. The currency must be stable, irrespective of the exchange rate with the dollar. Right now, there's volatility in the kwacha, and I will explain why there is that. And I'll tell you also what we are doing to stabilize it. Not these mere politics that people are making. No, Walandilef, Yochtef. This is how we are putting things in place. The callers, if I miss my words, there are economists out there who can guide me and everything, come on board. But this is what our government is trying to do. Why did the kwacha start losing value from 4.8 kwacha to 23 kwacha? Number one, Mwebena Zambia. The biggest contributor to our economy of 70 or plus percent is the mining sector. And this is not that we are running out from the mining sector. We want to put an addition from the mining sector to the manufacturing and agricultural sector, so they can run parallel and contribute to the economy of our country. The mining sector, what happened? All the mines in the country were engulfed in court issues with the then government. Lumwana was at the verge of pulling out. FQM was at the verge of pulling out and actually selling it off. They never employed people. They never recapitalized. Production reduced from its lowest. Zambia was producing to a tune of 1.6 to 1.8 million tons of copper per year. Get these figures right. Whoever wants to go, you can go online and figure. But when some certain systems came in place, the mines were fighting under loggerheads with the governments. Mopani was kicked out of operations 4 years. From 1.6 to 1.8 million tons of copper, we reduced to 800,000 metric tons, 1 million tons lost. How much forex did Zambia lose? It stops coming into the country. The kwacha starts worsening. With challenges, they were at loggerheads with the government. KCM knocked out of business. We reduced further from 800,000 metric tons to 600 to 500,000 metric tons. All this loss, and among others, the kwacha just flip-flopping. The biggest earner and retainer of the currency is out. But to get back to a resilient process, again, I'll tell you this, Luansha mine for 23 years stopped production from shaft 28. Why? Because the excuse was saying it was flooded. It's the more reason why when the president went into China in September, 3 major things that I have not forgotten, because I was sitting with him every time I was having these meetings. He was talking about Mulungush textiles. Tatule fwaya ngatuwamo kumbe pene textiles. Ikabekwa ni filama government yachita pantukwala bokuvota ba iswa for 3 months. Ngama elections fenga yapo ya isarika. We need to open it resiliently, sustainably, profitably, and economically. This is what we have done to Luansha mine. Millions of tons of water getting pumped out. And it needs to start giving back to the economy. But it will not start today. But pumping the water out gives hope that one day the water will get out and it will get to production. And Luansha mine will start producing from more than 50 to 60,000 tons of copper per annum to about 90 to 100,000 metric tons of copper per annum. Forex starts coming in. Mopani now has been brought to life because now an equity partner has been brought in. And we have changed the way of doing business. When we talk about joint ventures, partnerships, we want to work with the investors that come into this country. It can't just be them doing business alone. What have we done with Mopani? Mopani was owing a debt of $1.7 billion. When we came into office, the president said, this is not right. How did we owe this $1 billion, $1.7 billion? I want to thank the Minister of Finance, Bamsokotwane. I want to thank the Minister of Mines. I want to thank the Minister of Technology and the Minister of Infrastructure, who were bold enough to call these people and say, we can't go on like this. Kabuswe today may seem unpopular because of the challenges that the mines had. But I thank God for his life, that he has been resilient and working so hard to get the mines to life. May God bless his soul and the works of his hands. In the meetings where he said this cannot be, the cost of the debt that the Glencore was claiming on our country reduced to about $500 million. Question ichalo chiringle chaipusha chakwebati. Nga $1.2 billion nishia quiz. What happened? Negotiating and agreeing with principles and facts that are best in the interest of the country. We've brought in an equity partner where for the first time in a long time, we have increased our shareholding. The most that Zambia has in mines is about 28 or 30, if 15 on 10 in some places, to almost 50%. That is 49%. We can do better. And we continue to engage in many other places. Mopani, in the next 1, 2, 3 months, will get to full production. How do we grow the economy? First, all those Zambians who were owed money have been paid 100%, contractors and suppliers. The councils that were owed money, Kitwe City Council was owed by the mines 87 Mufulira where they are operating. If this happens at KCM as well, right now at KCM, almost everything has been done. The only thing that is remaining at KCM is one thing, the scheme of arrangement on how KCM is going to deal with the people that are owed money. For 4 years, contractors and suppliers have been owed money. And we have agreed as a government, no contractor should be owed a single way when Vetanta starts operating. Everybody must be paid 100%. And no contractor going forward should be owed money more than 30 days when contractors apply. This is the only thing we're doing. The courts have instructed for 2 meetings. One will be on the 22nd, and the other one will be on the 24th. Thereafter, I leave it to the Minister of Mines to come and update the country. As minister responsible for industries, this is how far I can go. But I just want to give you hope that works are in progress. When all these entities now start coming to life, the Forex starts coming on board. Our vision is to go beyond 1.6 million to 1.8 million tons of copper to 3 million tons of copper production. Lumwana has reinvested $2 billion. And the $2 billion, we have developed what we are calling a local content. Akadiabena, Zambia, they could be registered in mines, but the value of the contracts was too little. What we have done, the president last week could have signed a bill, something to put, not a bill, a law to not only be a mouthpiece, but an entity that compels the mining institutions and manufacturing sectors to comply, where Zambians should have a certain value of contracts in the mining sector and other places. The $2 billion we are talking about, take one machine, if is actually worth 1 billion, Zambians should have a hand and stay in it. This, once it comes in place, we go to production in the next 7 years now, 7.5 years, to 3 million tons of copper. Forex coming into the country. The batteries that we are going to start manufacturing this year, the motorbikes we're going to start assembling in this country this year, when we sell in South Africa, in Zimbabwe, in Congo, in other countries, it's just bringing Forex, and our culture now starts stabilizing, starts gaining value, and the cost of doing business for our people starts getting better. It is through such policies, such activities and engagement, when an economy grows to a resilient way, not where the Bank of Zambia gets the taxes or the dollars they inject into an economy. It is only going to happen, but for a while. But what we are doing, it will outlive me, it will outlive you, Zaki. We put up sectors that were resilient in our economy.
How do we sustain that in terms of the fact that we have power deficit?
This is where I'm coming now.
Right.
Whether we like it or not, why the Kwacha performance has even worsened. And this year, last year, if all things were equal, we projected that this year the economy was supposed to grow by 4.3%. Allow me to thank the Zambian small-scale and large-scale farmers. People responded positively to farming. Government produced fertilizer, provided at the right time, gave seeds at the right time. But unfortunately, it is not within the confines or the powers of anyone to control the flow of rain. It is God's, it's an act of God. We saw rain not coming on board. Fertilizer went to waste. Farms, producers went to waste. It has affected us badly. And instead of growing by 4.3%, 4.3%, we are reducing to about 2.3% of growth of the economy. If anything, it's a decline. Because of this drought, it's not only food absence that is happening in the country, it has also now affected, because 98% of power production in Zambia is hydro. So so power generation becomes a problem. And by the day, as the turbines are running, the water levels are getting lower and slimmer. So now it is going to affect the power supply into the mining industry, the production sectors, and many others. What has government done now to make sure that the mining sector continues to provide this about, among others? We have done this while we are making our people go through this pain of not having power for about 8 hours and sometimes. But what do we do for an economy that will generate revenue, the mining sector? Let us import more power for that area. And we have agreed now that the Zambian government or ZESCO will foot the bill of the enhanced imports. The mining sector have come on board and said, you as a government, can you negotiate with other neighboring countries? We import power from them, but at a better price. We will foot the bills, and they are going to do that. But you may ask, which countries have got power in the region? Only one country, Mozambique. Zimbabwe has been hit. Malawi has been hit.
Tanzania has a lot of it.
Exactly. But what we do not have between Tanzania is East Africa. I'm talking about the Southern Pool. The problem that we have between Tanzania and us, there is no what we are calling, I can say, I've forgotten the engineering term that I would say, to a bridge to bring power between Tanzania and Zambia.
And you need to explain this more, because I think it was louder when the president made a visit to Tanzania recently, and I think you might have been part of that delegation.
I remember the term.
And that's when it came out strongly that Tanzania was actually switching off 5 of their hydro plants.
Now listen.
And Zambians were saying, and that's where the president is. That's where the Minister of Commerce is.
Exactly.
Why are they not discussing these things in terms of, can we take advantage of the fact that we have the president visiting this country, which is turning off power production when we have a deficit.
I remember the term I forgot. I'm not an electrical engineer.
Right.
I'm in construction myself. The interconnector.
Right.
An interconnector